Hello, and welcome to Wisdom on Wednesdays. Today, I want to talk about traditions, particularly holiday traditions at this time of the year, and why they're so important. I love the holiday season, and with Thanksgiving just ending and Christmas around the corner, what a great time to start to think about establishing traditions if you don't already have them, or maybe even cutting back if you have too many. Traditions are a great way to bond, to spend time together, to create a sense of belonging, and to even celebrate generations of families. I've been reading studies recently that show that kids who know their family history are more resilient and even do better in school. I think this is because they see themselves as more than just an individual, but part of a family line. And traditions are a great way to share family history. So today I have 5 tips for you. And the first one is if you haven't established traditions already, a great way to start is to ask every family member about something that they would like to do. Consider ones that you're willing to maintain. I know that some of the traditions we've established, we've carried on even with our adult kids. So think about the ones that your kids would like to do, what you and your spouse like to do, and consider asking each individual about something they might like. Like one child might want to make gingerbread houses, where another simply enjoys baking cookies with you. One thing that we always did as a family growing up is we would go out into the woods in Bend, Oregon, ski out there and cut down a Christmas tree. And it's interesting to me that we stopped at that tradition. Sometimes traditions just don't work for you. And for us, I think it was because I was really picky about the type of tree we wanted, and my husband just wanted to get done. And so we wound up with these conflicts over the trees all the time. And eventually we just wound up buying an artificial tree. But this is a tradition that my youngest daughter, Elisa, has continued to this day with her family, that they go out the Saturday after Thanksgiving and cut down a live Christmas tree together. Sometimes traditions are ones that we want to do every year, and sometimes you just have to realize they're not working. Another simple way to bring in traditions is through food. In our family, we brought in traditions from Glenn's German heritage and my Finnish heritage. And some of these are recipes that have been in place since Glenn and I were little kids. So it's really fun to talk about where they've come from and the background to those food the foods that we eat at holiday times. And just they bring back so many memories and allow us to celebrate our ancestors. Troy, my oldest son, or my only son, he and his family will always have a family slumber party the night they put up a Christmas tree where they all sleep together under the Christmas tree. These are simple and reasonable and ones that actually fit into a schedule. And that's where traditions don't have to be elaborate or break your budget or take up too much time. One thing that I brought out this year, I remembered this bell, which was a part of my husband's mom and dad always had this bell out at Christmas time. And our kids would enjoy looking at it and shaking it. And I kept it hidden for years because I thought, okay, this is a glass bell and my grandchildren are young. And what if they are too rough with it? But I brought it out this year because I thought there's no reason to hide this bell, which was always put out at Christmas time at my kids' grandparents' home. So I brought it out and I enjoyed talking about Glenn's parents to my grandchildren this week as they've learned to gently shake this glass bell and wondered why anyone would even make a bell that could break. And it's been fun to be able to share ideas with them. Also, a bell for me was able to share how bells are a part of the heritage, even in the little town where my mom grew up in Finland, where the bell at the church steeple in the middle of town rings every time there's a marriage, every time there's a death, and it ushers in the holiday season. And just, it's fun to think about the symbolism of a bell at Christmas time. One of the things that I like to do after Thanksgiving is teach my kids, my grandkids on their days at home in PJs. And my younger kids particularly like this one-piece jumpsuit I have that makes me look like a Christmas tree. It's really fun to think of simple ways to just enjoy the holiday season together. So point one, keep your traditions as ones that you can maintain, be flexible and cut out those that don't work. But two, make sure that you are not doing something that's just going to add more stress to your life, because the purpose of traditions is to have time together and opportunities to share things as a family. I'd say point three is to intentionally bring Christ into the Christmas season. And one of the great ways of doing that is through Advent. And my guess is that many of you have an Advent structure that you follow. And it's such a great way to be reminded each week to think about the true meaning of Christmas. This year, we purchased a book called Hymns for Advent by the Daily Grace Company, and I've been using that. It's really been a fun way to think about the hymns that we sing at Christmas time and their meanings. We love to attend a candlelight service on Christmas Eve as a part of our family's holiday traditions. Another point would be to think of serving together. I know we have many years put together the Operation Christmas Child boxes. I remember when our kids were little, my husband would take our kids down and they would put together meals at homeless shelters. I think that it's important as we think about being generous at Christmas time that we don't just write a check and send it off without our kids knowing, but that we make them a part of the process. Maybe they can make cards or draw pictures or do something. But I think it's important that we think about how we can serve the less fortunate during this time of the year. Also, I think another tip, the final tip I have for you today, is to think about a focus on giving over getting. Asking your kids, what is it that they want to give each other or to other people rather than just what they want to get. One of our traditions that we do that makes opening presents a really long experience is that everyone watches everyone else open a present one at a time. So it's not just about opening your own presents, but it's about really rejoicing in and celebrating with everyone as they open gifts individually. I've watched my oldest daughter, Erin, each year go through her kids' rooms before Christmas and weed out old toys or things that the kids aren't using to give away to make room for the new ones. It's so true with toys that sometimes less is better. So it's a great time of the year to think about giving away those things that your kids aren't no longer using. So if you're listening to this and you feel like you already have way too many traditions and you're feeling stressed about the holiday season, I encourage you to think about cutting back to make it more simple. Really, the traditions that I'm talking about are ones that bring you more time together over meaningful conversations. I know for me, this year, I felt really stressed about sending out Christmas cards and I decided not to. Years ago, I decided that while I love sending out cards, it's not something that I have to do every single year. Or maybe you're listening to this and you don't even know where to start. And I would suggest that you start small and simple. It's never too late. Bring your kids into the discussion. Just think about ways you can make this season a little special, maybe with particular foods that you want to make. Maybe it's simply driving around and looking at Christmas lights. But traditions are great, but they're not just about Christmas time. You can do them all year long, and they are such a great way to celebrate family and belonging and relationships. I wish you a very Merry Christmas. Thanks for listening.